Hi folks, Ed from North Arkansas Outdoors. I was out here a couple weeks ago improving the habitat, and one thing I wanted to do was make sure that there were some locations in an area where I know bucks hang out. I wanted some locations that, you know, a buck would come along and say, hey, this looks like a great place to lay down in bed. So I wanted it to be in an area where I know that the does will be within 100 to 200 yards away, bedding down, and also I wanted them to be close to my stand, but not to the point where every time I come in they hear me or even have a chance to see me. So I went out a couple weeks ago and started creating some, as you could call it, mock beds. But one of them already, a few days after I had made a so-called mock bed for a buck, had hair in it, and I mean, it could have been a doe, but most likely it wasn't. So I'm going to show you a few of the beds that I made, and it's pretty simple. So get out there and improve that habitat. So here I am just off of another trail that I know bucks travel on. I am again probably 100 yards from my stand, or maybe a little bit more than that. I'm on a second level. I'm not all the way down to the bottom of the hill. I'm on a second level where they can see all the way down to the bottom of the ravine, and they can kind of keep an eye on the crest of the ridge and get scent coming over the crest of the ridge. So here's another spot right here that I made another mock bed. Switch the camera around here so you can get a better view of it, but we're underneath a nice cedar, and it's kind of leaning over, and there's buck rub all over the area. So I thought, hey, this would be an ideal spot to make a bed. So just make sure that your beds are about 3 feet by 5 or 6 feet. And give them plenty of area to lay down. Make sure there's not much for rocks and roots. They don't like to lay on rocks and roots, so give them the best bed that you can give them. One thing to keep in mind is bucks like to have an exit plan. So they like to be able to escape, you know, one way or the other somewhere. Wherever you have your buck bed, just make sure that you have a route for them to escape in 2 different directions. So here's a place that I made a mock bed. There's a trail and I'm walking down right here, and then right around this fallen tree and with the roots sticking up, I cleaned out an area for a buck to lay down. He's got protection from the tree log, and with the wind direction here, this stump allows the southwest wind, which is the prevailing wind here in the fall, protects him from that wind. He can have his back up against the log and this tree root ball and still be able to look down this hill and keep an eye on things, and he's protected. He's got the wind to his back. The does will be up the hill about 150 yards away, 200 yards away, bedding down in the prairie by the food plot. So this was an ideal location. It's not far from trails, so hopefully a buck will find this spot and lay down in it. And it's only about 75 to 100 yards from my tree stand. So here you can see there's a small sapling here that's been rubbed up, and the spot that I picked for buck bed is right up there. Here's another spot I found. It's there's a trail that comes down the hill. I know bucks travel this area. I know they frequent this trail, so I thought this was another ideal spot. Again, the wind will be blocked by the tree and the root ball. I'll come back later and clean this up a little bit better, pick some more of the rocks out, but I give them a nice flat spot to lay down in. And if they don't like this spot, there's another one that's nearby here. And the thing you got to remember is you just don't randomly pick these spots. You got to make sure that there is some buck rub or some scrapes or something nearby. So here's a spot between some logs. Now like I said, it just rained, so some of this looks like it kind of washed out a little bit. So I'll come back and rake this up a little bit later in the summer and get this a little bit softer and nicer for them. But it's kind of the things that you're looking for. But make sure it's in an area where you know that there's going to be bucks. And right next to this log was a spot that actually looked like a buck was laying down there this fall, late winter actually. So I cleaned it up a little bit better, made it a little bit bigger. It's got a log to protect them. Now this one is in a slightly different wind direction, so later in the season when it gets colder, the wind will change to the north-northwest, and with this log here, that will give them a little protection to their back and be able to pick up the scent behind them and still keep an eye up at the top of the hill. It may be hard to see, but up this trail here, some heavily used trails, there's a funnel right here. The trail goes up that way and the trail goes off that way. Well, right back a little bit from there, kind of made a trail that went off to the side here. And about 20 yards away, there's some buck rub around here. And I thought, hey, perfect. So these trees will block the wind to their back, something to lean against. Nice spot to make a buck bed. And this is one of those also that I had checked a little bit after I had made it, and I found hair in it. I'm back on this funnel, and as you can see, if I go up this trail here, it's kind of a main trail. That buck bed that I made isn't too far away. So I mean, it's fairly close to this funnel. So that buck's going to be in a spot where when the rut starts up, he's going to know that there's some does traveling through here. And down at the end of this trail, as it goes down, it'll come out right by my stand. And here's a main trail, the one of them that went down to that funnel. And right off to the left here, about 10 or 15 yards away, I made a bed. We'll go check it out. A little wet right now, because like I said, it just got done raining here a couple hours ago. Heavy rains. But again, I will fluff this up a little bit. I want to stay away from late summer. I'll get in here and try to get it cleaned up, and hopefully the bucks will start traveling around and settling in this area. But again, the logs I set up so that it would be to wind to their back generally with the southwest or south-southeast winds, and they'll still be able to keep an eye on the trail and the rest of the woods, and it should be a nice safe spot. I showed you how to do some habitat improvement. It's up to you now to get out there and improve your hunting. Again, this is the time of the year to do it, late February, March. Get out there, make some mock beds for the bucks. I've made about 8 to 10 of them. I kind of lost track, but I do have a map. I marked them down on a map back at home. You know, set them up so that they're not right on top of a trail, but they're somewhere where they can kind of keep an eye on things. Keep them 75 to 100 to 150 yards from your stand. Don't make it too difficult, too far for them to come to you, but far enough where you're going to have some protection and they're not going to see you, smell you. You're going to be able to get in and out of that stand quietly without being detected. So folks, get out there and improve that habitat. Again, this is Ed for North Arkansas Outdoors.